Brother Scott. Brother Scott. Here we are. What are we doing?
Brother Speed.
What are we doing, Brother Scott? Looking at it.
We have two viewers, so there's me and there's you. And I thought Nessa was out there somewhere. Oh, there's Girlmania.
Girlmania. Oh my God. Anyway, so we have a timeline here.
Yeah.
And this is from the book.
So what?
The Jesus Dynasty.
Yeah, there's a book by James D. Tabor called The Jesus Dynasty, and he has a lot of historical data in it, and so he put a table of important dates in the back of it on page 319 and 320 to be exact. And so we thought, since we've been doing that timeline of things that happened in the olden days to influence what made Christianity happen, that table is a real quick way, a real direct way to see what was in the air that might have led to a religion like Christianity to come about.
Yep. So we got the Assyrian attack way back in 722 BC, and then he starts at about 167 with the revolt of the Maccabees. What was a Maccabee? Was that like the attack of the killer bees?
If you replace killer bee with killer Jewish people, then yes. The Maccabees, I think, were a part of a priestly tribe. I'm not exactly sure about that. If they were like of a Davidic line, or if they were just very enthusiastic priests, but they had, for various reasons, decided to rebel against their leader from Syria, probably because of I don't know if it was Antiochus. There were just some pagan things going on around the temple that they would do that offended the Jews greatly. And so they just decided, concern it, we're going to rule ourselves. And they were successful at it. And as you can see there, from 167 to 64, for about a century BC, or should we say BCE, they ruled Israel, especially Jerusalem, and became the royalty of the day.
So we're going to go over this timeline, and then a little later we're going to get into what happened on Bread of Life's channel last night. So,
yeah, that was a very interesting interchange.
It was, yeah. And it was with Empty Tomb, or Kenny, and it was very interesting. I even got on there for a little while and spoke my piece. But okay, so we have the Maccabees, and then the Romans conquered in 63 BC, and that's pretty much where the whole Roman thing started, right? And they kind of stabilized the region, the Romans.
Yeah, they put their thumb down quite a bit. Should we say they maybe laid their hammer down? I don't know, but yeah, it was a very bumpy rule. There were all sorts of revolts and attempts to throw away the Roman influence, the Roman rule, but the Romans they persevered and overcame such resistance every time.
Yeah. So then, so that kind of set the stage for all of these Jewish sects, basically, that came up and started revolting, or basically had their own particular idea.
By sects, SECTS sects, you mean like the different messianic kind of?
Yeah, like where the Dead Sea Scrolls came from.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was a group called the Essenes.
Yep.
Very very conservative, very on fire about personal holiness and personal purity, and they lived all around the region. there in Israel, and there was a group of Essene monks, most people think, that lived in the Qumran community, from whom we got the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yep. And then we have, let's see, the rule of Herod the Great. So he was the first Herod, right, from 37.
He was, Big Daddy Herod.
And then his two sons.
He had two sons, Archelaus and Antipas, or Antipas, however you want to pronounce it. And they were a couple of doozies.
And which one of those was in? There was some story I read about coming into Jerusalem, and there were protesters, and he had them all crucified. Was that Antipas, or was that Philip? Rule of Philip, son of Herod. There was some. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know specifically which one. I know which one you're talking about.
There was a bunch of crucifixion going on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, during one of those revolts, they ran out of wood, essentially, around the areas to make crosses.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know. You can have one on one side of the cross and one on the other side. Just have to make sure the nails don't collide.
Right. Yeah, they could have reused the wood. I don't know. I would have. But it's the way man is. Destroy the environment so we can.
To make your political points. You betcha.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Okay. So what else?
Well, as far as the things that contributed and made Christianity possible, you can see from what these events, the great fervor to get rid of Rome and have what they saw as the prophetic fulfillment of prophecy. Well, that's almost kind of the prophetic fulfillment of messianic prophecy come true, where God himself would defeat the enemies of Israel, and then there would be a better, greater world centered politically around Jerusalem, and kind of reaching out to all the world and blessing all the world through the rule of God. And one thing, and it's not shown on this table, is the fact that the prophet Daniel had made a prophecy way back when, and they actually think it was written around somewhere in the early 2nd century of BCE. But he made a prophecy that if you count up the numbers, that they expected a Messiah around the time of Jesus, just the way the predictions and the numbers came out. And, it wasn't an exact practice. So you see where around 5 BC, was that 5? Where you had Judas the Galilean try to forcibly take over Jerusalem and the area right after Archelaus was removed from power.
Yeah, that was 6 AD, right here.
Yeah, it was 6 AD. I kept looking at 5 BC for some reason. And then, of course, you had Jesus and John the Baptist preaching repentance, and Jesus finally revealing, that he's the chosen one. And then later, this table lists Bar Kokhba, who is, I can't remember if his name is Judas or Jesus Bar Kokhba, but there's been more than one person named Jesus throughout history, and he wanted to revolt and clear the Romans out of Israel and rule from there, because he had his own messianic aspirations, or at least visions, or a messianic calling. And that, there were more than that, but that's the ones that are listed on this table, that probably we know through Josephus. But, there's a reason that things like that happened around this time. Of course, Christians want to say, well, it's our Jesus who fulfilled those prophecies. It all pointed to him. but I
Yeah, there
didn't.
may have been a lot of people auditioning for the part back then.
Yeah, they were definite dress rehearsals, shall we say,
Yeah.
for the part. And remember, Jesus' messianic efforts failed. They had to re-message him quite a bit, and that's why Paul succeeded so well. Is he succeeded in re-messaging what was essentially a failed uh, Jewish attempt to overthrow Rome. Um, it kind of lived on, and that's the whole purpose of that book, the Jesus Dynasty, is that that entire purpose left a church behind, that was through in Jerusalem. It was headed by uh, in Jesus' absence, since he had been killed. James, Peter, and a few other originals stayed, and they ruled the church there in Jerusalem. And then after, like, James was murdered, I think one of Jesus' other half brothers, Simon, uh, ruled in Jerusalem for a while. But that movement just kind of petered out, because in the meantime, Paul had his visions and reinterpreted Christianity a certain way, and that really took hold. And what you see in the Gospels was people who had heard the original tradition, and who had also started to hear Paul's preaching, and decided, we need to change these things of Jesus and clarify a few things, because they started to write the Gospels in light of what Paul had been saying. So, in fact, I think the only reason why we have James and Jude in our New Testaments is simply because they were half brothers of Jesus, and not because most people liked what they had to say, or were very impressed by their scriptures.
Yeah.
Because if you look in James and Jude, you don't get the same kind of preaching or gospel that you saw Paul preaching, about grace and things like that. Centuries later, Martin Luther would call James' letter in the New Testament a gospel of straw. He thought very little of it. Didn't even know why it was there. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Unless you have other questions about the timeline.
Well, it's interesting. So, okay, so John the Baptizer got beheaded. He must have pissed somebody off really bad.
Well, remember I was telling you about how Herod Antipas decided that he wanted to lock down his legitimacy as a Jewish king, as king of the Jews. So he really liked his brother's wife, and they had an affair. He stole his brother's wife and got rid of his current wife. His wife had a daughter named Salome. I can't recall how to pronounce her name. And she was kind of sexy. So one night at a party, Salome danced for the Herod Antipas, and Herod was so pleased with her dancing that he said, "You can have anything you want, just ask it." And so Salome asked for the head of John the Baptist on a platter, and so he lost his head. Now I don't know how true that exact story is. There's all sorts of lore that comes up around different rulers and things like that.
Is that a Bible story?
Yeah, it's a Bible story.
Oh, Bible story. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the Bible. But anyway, that's why John the Baptist was beheaded. The real reason is he was just challenging the legitimacy of his kingship and his marriage. And to get that out of the way, let's just behead the dude. And of course, he then decided after that to secure his place by seeking to have Jesus and his followers killed.
Jesus went 1 year later, so interesting. Okay. Anyway, that it?
That's all I've got, unless, like I said, you have anything you want to add, or if anybody in the side chat wants to raise a question. In fact, I think I saw where somebody did raise a question. Oh, I think it was. Yeah, thank you, Kafai, for clearing up. Stupid Whore Energy heard me wrong.
Jewish sex, that one?
Yeah.
Wasn't
Well,
Jewish.
actually, I can't say SECT without it coming out sounding like SEX.
Sex.
I can't do the K sound.
I know, I can't either. It's all sex. So I don't think there's such a thing as Jewish sex, is there?
Sect. Well, sect is just a group that kind of splits off from another.
No, I mean, I'm talking about sex with an X.
Oh. I don't know.
Such thing.
I don't know. I mean, they have babies somehow.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose.
You know, they have whole hospitals.
No, stork. Anyway, okay. Cool. Let me kill a process here. Starting to chug. Anyway, so last night. So we have let's see. Here it is. Yeah. Okay. So we have Pine Creek and Empty Tomb talking.
Oh, that was a kerfuffle.
Yeah. So Pine Creek did like a 7-minute excerpt from that little kerfuffle, and I got in there because he was talking about these experiences, and he was saying things about alcoholism that I kind of took exception to. Basically, yeah, he said, what did he say? He said most alcoholics are constantly craving drink. If that is just like total bullshit. You don't recover if you're constantly craving drink, right? I mean, if you're in this constant craving state, you're fucked. You're gonna drink. There's no recovery. So most alcoholics,
if you're going through the DTs or something.
Yeah, he thinks that all people in AA are in there. Well, maybe that comes from this Hollywood bullshit depiction of AA meetings. Where they get up and they, oh, life sucks, and I got drunk and killed my mom's dog and all this bullshit, but I'm sober. That Hollywood bullshit that they, I mean, Hollywood writers need to be taken out and shot for the way they depict AA meetings, because that's not anything like how it works, except maybe in a few weird places in California, they do have some screwy meetings. But anyway, so alcoholics do not sit around craving drink constantly. We couldn't live our lives if that was the case. That's not how you recover. It's just bullshit.
So an unrealistic grasp of the world on the part of a evangelical?
Yeah, basically. Okay. Yeah, that, if you do it through God, then basically craving drink is removed from you. But countless AA people will testify that as soon as they came into the program with a certain attitude, that the craving for alcohol was completely removed from them over and over again. I mean, it's all over. That big book of AA has story after story about people who have just suddenly lost entirely the desire to drink or take drugs.
Well, a lot of it is
it's a human experience.
AA sets up different conditions like community, accountability.
Nope. None of that makes a fucking bit of difference, Scott.
Oh,
no. It's the experience of hitting a bottom in your life and basically ending up with an entirely new paradigm. And it just takes over, and it's the same exact thing that these born-again Christians are talking about, except that in AA or in a 12-step program, when it happens to you, you will bond to the 12-step program rather than some church, right? This community and all the other bullshit. I mean, there is a program of action that the 12 steps gives you that tries to get you in the right going in the right direction. And they give you a guideline. but it's that experience basically. And some people have that experience instantly, and I've had it instantly several times in my life, and other people have it gradually over a long period of time. But eventually everybody has that experience of completely losing that need to drink. And most of us, like for me, the thought of drinking or taking a drug right now makes me almost want to throw up. I mean, it's just horrifying to think about drinking. And I've been through some pretty stressful times in the last couple of years, and I thought about it, but never came anywhere near that craving, that sort of thing. There's an injection you can take that removed your body's ability to get drunk, so you might as well be drinking water. That would be cool. Yeah, that would be horrible for an alcoholic. You'd probably end up drinking yourself to death. You'd have so much fluid in your body trying to get drunk. I know there's also a drug called Anabuse. If you take it if you take Anabuse and you have to wait for like 2 or 3 days before you can touch alcohol, or turns it into formaldehyde in your bloodstream or acetaldehyde.
Wow, you can pre-embalm yourself.
Yeah, and it makes your heart rate goes up to about 200, and you start vomiting uncontrollably, projectile vomiting, and it's just horrible. And it's like, I tried that a few times back in the 70s, basically, as a means of getting me to quit drinking. So doesn't work for shit. You just wait it out. You just say, okay, I'm going to set a timer. I took one. In 2 days, I can drink. And then you do. So anyway, but I took exception to that. But let's go ahead and listen to this. This is kind of interesting.
People, even Christians, have a problem with is the manner in which he did it.
You need to turn up the sound a little bit, I think.
Yeah. So let me ask you point blank, like if you were up in heaven with Yahweh at the time just before the flood, and you didn't know that the flood was happening, and Yahweh said, "Hey, Kenny, I can't stand this any longer. I got to wipe all these people out except for Noah's family. I'm either going to do it through drowning, or I'm just going to poof them out of existence." What would and he's asking your opinion? What do you think? And he's giving you two options, both are moral. What would you say to God?
Well, I mean that's neither here nor there, because now you're dealing with the sovereignty of God. I think that the way He chose to do it was to, and again, we're seeing a type in the boat. So the boat represents those who are willing to.
But Kenny, I'm asking you a question.
No, I'm going to answer the question. Just give me
but the question is, what would you say to God as your preference on how to execute His justice?
That's irrelevant. See, that's irrelevant. Now, I'm going to tell you why.
Can someone say they've had the divine enter them and be mistaken?
Absolutely not. Not the experience that I've had, anyway. Now, I'm not saying there's
minutes of preaching.
You already answered my question. The answer, you said no, right?
Now, wait a minute. Let me finish it. See, some questions aren't just yes and no, Doug. Certainly, you're smart enough to know that by now.
Yeah, and later on,
so there is a passage in here that talks about another Jesus, another spirit.
Later on, he demands a yes or no out of Doug.
Of Christianity. In fact, I've got a book coming out in July on this, and it's actually I go over the fact.
So you're changing it to yes.
And this is where I sympathize with the atheists, by the way, Doug. I do believe that modern Christianity is a train wreck. I believe that. I believe that.
Let me ask a question again.
Pause.
Someone can say the divine has
Please, Danny. So he's basically saying, if this church would just do right, these atheists wouldn't be atheists. Because we're a bunch of children who can't figure things out on our own. Yeah.
He also says over and over again, he believes that atheists had a bad experience with the church. Mm-hmm. And so, and everybody in the panel said they didn't have a bad experience with the church. Look what we got now. Oh, no.
You caught a wild one.
Who let him in here?
Hey, he just jumped in the boat. I don't know where he came from.
I was listening when this particular part of the stream was going.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, I don't know if it's got to that part or if it's included. Surely it is at one point Kenny asks Pine Creek if he believes in Jesus, and Pine Creek says no. And so Kenny, after all of his preaching and conversing, if you can even call it having a discussion was like, well, then I have no further reason to talk to you.
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
that's coming up, Gert.
We're getting to that.
Okay, sorry, I'm just spoiling it.
That's the part that set you off, right? That just got you.
Yeah,
really-
I was like, screw this guy. Okay, continue.
Spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
there was a lot of attempts at psychic readings because the guy did tend to tell people what was in their brains a lot, which I found
Yes,
to
he
be quite not entertaining, interesting, but not entertaining, shall we say.
Yeah, he had two opinions. Okay, when I told him about my experience, and then Doug asked him about Muslim experiences, which I think we're getting to. He says the Muslims are lying, but for me, he said I really had the experience, but I didn't realize it was God, so I misunderstood it. And then he said something about that's where you went off the rails, and I said, wait a minute, if I'm off the rails, why am I still sober?
Yeah, and doesn't that kind of qualify as gaslighting? He's telling you what your experiences are and basically making you try to make you think that you don't know what happened to you or you don't know how to interpret your own experiences.
Right. And the reason for this is because there is a human experience that not everybody knows about, and I do know about it, okay? And not everybody really has had these experiences. When you have these experiences, most born-again Christians have had them, or people that have been, immersed in Christianity have had them at one time in their life. And now that you're an atheist, you're going to totally discount that experience. Well, the experience was valid. What you believed in at the time was the fucking problem.
Right.
Okay? Because it wasn't God or Jesus that was doing it. It's a human experience that all humans are capable of having. And that is the thing that just kills me about all this. So that was why I jumped in.
And I think y'all, when he starts talking about what I want to make an observation about, I'll pause it. But
okay,
there were certain things he said that didn't show as much insight as I think he thought he had.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay.
Life and be mistaken.
No, not this experience. No way.
No way.
No way.
No way.
Not possible.
Can a Muslim say that the divine has entered them and changed their life radically and be
They
mistaken?
would be lying. Yes, they would be lying. Absolutely.
How do I know?
That's a very strong claim.
Because this cannot be mimicked. The righteousness of God cannot be mimicked. There's only one expression of true righteousness.
Can a Muslim say that this cannot be mimicked and be mistaken?
Now listen, Doug, there's only one mediator between God, man, and man, Christ Jesus. Now, Jesus said this. Now I'm going to ask you something, Doug, because you're asking me all the questions. I'm going to ask you one. Now, the Bible says, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And no man comes to the Father except by me. Now, my question for you would be this. Is Jesus a liar or is he a truth teller?
He is neither.
No.
Oh, it had either or.
Getting me to answer a question.
Good
You
heavens.
have to answer that question.
Yes or
Every
no?
human on this planet has to say he's either the way, the truth, and the life, or he's not the way, the truth, and the life.
I believe he's not.
Okay, so you are denouncing him publicly.
Yes, I denounce Jesus Christ as Lord and personal
Then our
Savior.
conversation's over.
Yeah, there we go.
Right. Because what good would it do?
What good would it do? In other words, if I can't convince you that I'm right, then we're not going to have a discussion anymore.
Well,
It's like-
Doug said it. I think he said it in the side chat. Maybe he says it in the stream. I don't remember. He said, I wish you could have started off with that so you could have saved us 20 minutes worth of your preaching, since it's no point in you preaching to us.
Right.
God, I really don't like the Kenny guy.
Well, see, that's an awfully poor tactic to play. He didn't want to talk about it, so he set it up to where he felt sort of justified in not talking about it. All he wanted to do was brush away what Doug was saying and avoid answering the questions that Doug was getting him down to. And is Jesus a truth teller or is he a liar is not a well-formed question, because you have more options. Can a person say something that is not true without being a liar?
And he just said that like 5 minutes, 3 minutes before. He said some questions don't have a yes or no answer. It's like,
right, yeah. So, which is once again, more kind of manipulation for a guy who is no longer an addict. He sure employs the tactics that addicts and con men and people like that use, which is trying to avoid responsibility, turning issues back on another person, gaslighting. These are all indications of a mind that is not healed yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or just willfully delusional.
I tried to make the point. I'm not sure if everybody got it or if these guys got it, but they were talking about living on the path, the way, the right way, living the right way, right? And I was trying to point out to them that believing that you have the one true God, the one true idea, is not the right way. That basically that is veering off the path right there. I mean, if you've had these experiences and you're living this monk-like, wonderful life on the right path, part of that path is a little bit of fucking humility. And they don't have it because they insist, the Muslims are lying. Speed went off the rails. He didn't realize what was happening to him. It's like, come on, guys. Like,
hey, we have another participant in that discussion in the side chat wanting a link. So I was wondering, maybe we ought to let Midnight in.
Who would that? Oh, is he the one that they? Okay, yeah, I'll send him a link.
What's funny is Midnight was getting a little bit of heat in the stream because I think Danny and somebody else was getting annoyed with Midnight because he kept trying to interrupt and interject. And I said in the side chat, "Ooh, Midnight's getting more heat from this stream than he does from the sun."
Oh my!
Shut up! Don't make me laugh. That's cruel.
Cruel. Panel does not approve of albino bashing.
But that's okay. I'm good.
Okay, I sent him a link. So here we go.
To have a further conversation with you.
Well, don't you
Well, I mean,
Because you just denounced the one that I believe is the only way to heaven. So what more do you and I have to
That's
say?
the
Kenny,
point.
how would you treat someone who came up to you and said,
No,
I don't
I'm
want to listen
just
about
telling
you?
This is called wiping the dust off your feet. And this is exactly what.
Okay, that wiping the dust off your feet. I watched two really horrifying Mormon documentaries. One was about FLDS that just came out, and the other one was it wasn't a documentary. It was a dramatization of a murder that happened in Salt Lake City by these fundamentalist Mormons. And they did that thing where when they leave the room, they hold their shoe up and wipe the dust from it. And that came right out of the Bible, wiping the feet. And
If they didn't receive Jesus' disciples, then they were supposed to leave and just shake the dust off their feet.
Okay, wait, okay. Speed, would you mind removing my sexy avatar off the the banner? By the way, Gur, I got more heat in the stream than from the sun. You fucking that is the funniest shit I've ever heard. What the fuck is wrong with you?
So much.
I know, right? What the fuck? God damn it! Jesus
The
Christ.
only
made
thing is, I think my extremely intellectual joke that I made went over most of the people's head.
Yeah, they
on that
probably.
stream.
But look, no, honestly, I do admit I may have interrupted more than I should. I was just joking
Never.
half the time, but I was also trying to contribute because I really dislike Kenny and the way he treated
Same.
Speed and just the way he was talking and the amount of projection this man made was so blatantly obvious and disgusting. He should have been a fucking projector in an IMAX theater.
like that
What
comment
the fuck?
It's something to put on the CV.
Right?
So apparently that the salamander letters, they didn't mention that in the drama. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's called Under the oh God, under the something.
Salamander letters.
No, it's
Under
a
the
it's a
I was
Sky?
reading
Netflix,
side chat.
it's a new Netflix drama based on murders in Salt Lake City. I think it's a limited series or whatever. It was
You're a
pretty good,
limited series.
but it was horrifying. I mean, these fundamentalists and the way they live and the way they treat women, it's just like I don't ever want to go to Utah again. I mean,
Again. So you were there before?
I
Under
drove
the
through
Banner
it.
of Heaven.
I drove
is what
through it. Yeah,
Sinestro
under the
told us.
banner.
Is that on Netflix by chance, or somewhere
It
where I
is.
can watch
Hulu.
it for free?
Oh, it's Hulu. Okay, Hulu.
Hulu.
That was, but it was
Stupid
great.
Horror Energy observes, I see Cy Gart in there. And yes, he was in there, but I didn't really hear him say much of anything, at least during that conversation.
right.
I don't know what he said during the rest of the 7-hour mega stream. But yeah, Cy Gart was in there.
Well, I guess even Cell was pushing back on Kenny. That's what I heard a
Yes.
rumor.
Oh,
He was
speaking-
passing notes under the desk.
Speaking of Sal. Oh, he was getting some heat a few hours ago, and I was there. I had front row seats.
Wait, what's the heat?
Yeah. So tell me, what did LPP do? He was supposed to have a show at 11 tonight, and I was going to get on his stream, but he ended up having it early.
He let's see. I got home probably 3:45, I think, and it was Eastern. And
Yeah, but he's got another show that's supposed to go live at 11 tonight.
Maybe he's overtiming it.
I think he's
But
confused.
What happened was LPP and Nick, or Planar Walk is their name, or YouTube channel. They had a back and forth for probably 30 minutes because I joined the stream, and it was probably 30 minutes plus later when LPP said, "All right, I'll let the stream go on, but I've got to go." So he bounced, and so it was me, Sal, Nick, and like a couple other people, and somehow Kent Hovind was brought up, and Sal had nothing nice to say about Kent.
Right.
Really, Sal wasn't even saying anything mean. He was just actually spitting the facts. He was telling the truth of how what a corrupt person Kent Hovind is, and the site. So I said, you must get a lot of heat from your fellow young Earth creationists to be so critical of Kent Hovind. And yes, and the side chat just lit up with people hating on him. And and then he had said something about John. LPP says DNA is not a code and he's right, or is a code and he's right. And so LPP jumped back into the stream and just let Sal kind of have it. Now, just because he kept saying, no, I've never said DNA is a code. I say it contains a code, and like just kept hammering Sal over the head. And Sal had already said, like 2 minutes into John's bashing, "Hey, I retract my statement. I do apologize." But LPP just kept going at it and at it. It was just, I kind of felt bad for Sal, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, girl.
Shut up. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I'm done.
Okay. Another thing I didn't like about Kenny is that every time somebody made a joke, he's like, "Oh no, let's not mock. Let's not like."
Yeah, mocking. Yeah.
But that's a joke, man. Come on, don't be so goddamn sensitive. And yes, this is coming from me. Okay, the albino.
Let's not mock is yet another way to try to take control of the conversation.
Yes.
I had a private conversation with him, and he seemed like a really nice guy, but he was nowhere near what he was on that stream last night. So I was kind of surprised.
Which one? Sorry.
Sal.
With
Kenny.
No, Kenny.
Oh, you talked to Kenny before, prior to this.
Yeah, I talked to him on Sunday morning. We had a private chat for about an hour because he wanted to talk to you, or he was trying to talk to you, and I came in and said, "I'll talk to you." Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that. So Kenny is Empty Tomb.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
That explains so much. He's empty inside, and he's a tomb.
Yeah, because he kept trying. I think I was the first one he wanted to talk to, but he had to get second best, Speed, LPP, and everybody else. I'm first best.
Wow.
But
So humble.
I did not know that was him.
Oh, speaking of humble, like I really love he says,
Yeah,
"Oh, you need
speaking
to
of me.
humble, you need to humble yourself before Jesus."
Yeah,
but he was acting such a fucking act like
his first
wow.
choice was to talk to a gullible young man, and his second choice was me. So
Wait,
And,
okay,
I
wait,
think
gullible
I
young
s-
man, who?
Germania.
Who?
Oh,
Germania.
oh, I see.
Okay,
Yeah,
listen.
okay.
Shut up, Gur. You're not going to
Continue.
respond to that. You don't get to respond to that.
Okay, as the owner of Answers in Atheism, you may proceed.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
As
Gur.
the leader.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
What God calls us.
You haven't evangelized very often, have you?
No, listen, Doug. You're wanting me to take this right here and convince that in you, and the gospel don't come through the ears, bro. It
So
comes
you
through
will
the
not
heart.
talk to me about this because I reject Jesus.
Okay,
as God.
Dankins.
No, because
Come through
you
the
won't
penis.
receive it into your.
Romans 14:10. Faith cometh by hearing.
I'll be right
Really?
back. I hear
Right
noise in the background.
it says that, eh?
Mic drop.
Speed. I think I've mentioned this in the private chat.
Yeah.
But it's it really does raise a lot of questions as to whether his experience was, well, actually the experience he had, like because he dismissed yours, or just I don't know. I've never been an alcoholic, so I can't really.
No, he
speak.
talked about it, and he had the same experience, and he hit the right note. So I understand that it did happen to him, and it happened shortly after. I think he tells the story of talking to this young lady, and she said something to him, and it kind of kicked it off. And so he did have that experience, and a lot of it. But like I say, with alcoholics, that experience is like 70 or maybe even 90% of them have that experience. They know what you're talking about. A lot of them have it happen so gradually that they can't quite identify with it, but a lot of people have it happen just like the room lights up and all of a sudden something lands on you and all of a sudden everything changes in your mind. It's an incredible, really kind of neat human physical experience.
Sorry, I have a. Oh, John! Look at that. John's around again.
John's around.
But here's my question about that. Isn't it possible that you could have somebody that really knows how to tell a good story and make you feel like they've actually experienced it? I'm not saying Kenny is doing this. I'm just saying, is there a possibility?
Humility.
Okay, you know what? Stupid horror energy. That was funny, but
could you repeat that, Midnight?
what?
God.
Okay, you know what? I will repeat. Isn't it? Isn't it possible? There could be somebody out there who's so good at telling stories they can make you feel like they've actually experiered it. I'm not saying Kenny is doing this. I'm just saying whether it's a possibility.
Yeah, it would be very difficult, but you could do that. I'm pretty sure you could convince me, and I would be wrong. But when in just casual conversation with a person, I can kind of tell when they're full of shit and when they're not. So I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm just offering another like a possibility.
No, he's definitely the only reason that he would believe as unbelievably solidly as he does is if he had some kind of an experience like that. That's the only way your mind gets changed.
Right.
But you remember what I said about the goose? When the egg, basically the goose hatches and the first thing he sees is his mom. So if you're reading the Bible,
he froze.
I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
I think he's talking about the idea of imprinting, but yeah, sooner or later, Speed will come back.
Yeah, he is talking about imprinting.
Kind of looks like he's praying,
right?
I believe he prays. He's a praying man. He prays to the universe, I think.
I don't know. Maybe I just have a bias against Kenny.
Well, it's that same old evangelical stick. I mean, he would
Yeah.
probably call me a child of the devil for saying it that way, but I've heard so many. I was blind, now I see. I was an alcoholic, now I'm cured of all that. Yet they have dysfunctional ways of dealing with conflict and
Exactly.
opposing views.
Wasn't Einstrobel or whatever the fuck his name is? The guy who wrote like
Lee Strobel,
Lee
the Case for
Strobel.
Christ.
Yeah, Case for Christ. Wasn't he exposed as to lying about his experiences or something?
Well, there are things in there are.
So I'm not saying
things
Kenny is doing this, but
in his actual history that don't line up with what the Case for Christ says. I know Heathen Queen recently did a pretty good thing about the Case for Christ. So you might look at her channel and check that out.
I think I have the Case for a Creator somewhere around here. I just never finished it.
Yeah, I don't remember really liking the Case for Christ that much, and I read it when I was a Christian. It just seemed like it was real derivative from other apologists.
It's something else when not even a Christian likes your work, likes your fucking book about Christianity.
Well, I'd read a lot of Josh McDowell stuff, and did I just say Josh McDowell? Josh McDowell stuff, and it just seemed like to me at the time I found his stuff more helpful than when I read Case for Christ. And I might have read some Habermas stuff too. So it's like everything was derivative.
Okay, I'm back. The stream may continue now.
Why, thank you.
Okay, we're waiting for Speed. I guess
I've replaced
kamikaze.
him.
I don't know.
He's having technical difficulties.
I demoted Speed. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and put the link out there.
I think the only one that should be able to join is Stupid Prostitute Energy.
Well, the thing is, she never will when we try to get her to.
We got a bait and switcher. Hey,
she is a very smart lady. Here. She always has something intelligent to say about biology, biogenesis, and things like that. I really wish she would come on and chat with us, but
just make sure she's not naked when she does. I still remember what she did to Praise, or was it someone else?
No, don't do that. No.
Well, according to Speed, he just texted me. He has no power, and his internet is out.
Okay, so what the fuck are we doing with this? Is the stream gonna end, or like what is it?
Well, we're on StreamYard, and I don't see that it's ended yet.
No, it says it's live. Do you have power to let people in, Scott?
I have the power. How do you think you got in?
Oh, it wasn't Speed. You're like
he would never choose to let you in.
Right?
Hey, you know what's funny?
Hey, John Peterson.
I'll shut up. What's up, John Peterson?
Hey, what's
John,
going on?
it's been a while.
Well, we lost Speed. Apparently, they had a power outage. So we're just chit-chatting, talking about our experience of the live stream on Bread of Life yesterday. What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, so the reason I was interested in coming in is has anybody been following that new Star Trek show, Strange New Worlds?
Oh yeah, it's a great show.
Okay, because the last episode, I just got done watching it, and I was just blown away with what it was about, because it reminded me a lot about some of the morality arguments that apologists, try and pull on atheists. What about this and what, because they had, sorry folks, spoilers if you didn't see that episode yet. But
if you haven't seen episode, which one is this? Is it episode 6?
Yeah, the one that just aired.
Yeah, if you've seen episode 6 of Strange New Worlds, better put your fingers in your ears, because I have no power to stop John from spoiling it. Well, actually, I do, but I'm not going to use it.
Do it, JP. Do it.
Oh, all I was going to say is like it was there was a society that ran on some technology that required the sacrifice of a child.
Yeah, it
like,
ran on juvenile juice.
What the fuck?
Right, yeah, like the machine, the technology had to like embed itself into the child's brain, and you know, it's just like, you know, and of course,
so it's a trolley
that wasn't
problem?
cool with the Star Trek folk, you know, but
So wait, there's so many questions here. How did they decide which child would do? Is it any child? If that's the case, how in the fuck did this society survive? So many goddamn questions.
well, no, it was like some child that they that was especially for that purpose. Like, I think it was like genetically, you know, prepared for that purpose, and he was called like the first servant or something like that. And then, you know, all along it's going along without like the Star Trek dude like even really knowing what the end result is. He just thinks, you know, they're, you know, putting this kid on a pedestal like he's their king or something like that. But in the end, he gets attached to that machine, you know, and sacrificed basically.
So basically,
Yeah,
the society runs better and more efficiently with the child.
Yeah, because it's part of some neural network.
So it is the moral issue. You know, is this right if it benefits more people?
Yeah, they're basically saying all the suffering of one child is for the benefit of a utopia where many children have a good life.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. That's how it's usually
Or the
put.
many live long and prosper.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, the thing is, it's like all through the show. Well, I was going to say all through the episode, they were referring to like all the advances that the society had. Like they were talking about somebody was sick and had some, and they were, the doctor's daughter on the ship, and you know their medical technology was superior or something, and could maybe help her out. But that was what it was, you know. So like look at everything that we do for everybody else. Yeah. So what you're saying is right, Gur. It was just like, well, you know, it's not wrong to sacrifice this one child. Look at everything we get in return for it. You know? That's why I said it reminded me of like a lot of arguments that apologists put forward.
Right. It kind of like a utilitarian type of approach, you know, like Midnight said earlier, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And I love that. That's awesome. Because that, if you were faced with that option of, hey, we can, you know, basically forfeit the life of a kid, but it would be tremendously beneficial for a whole society for millennia. It's like, well, I'm not saying I would do it, but you know, I could see an argument to be made.
But Gur, here's my question: what if you were that child? Would you sacrifice yourself for literally the whole planet?
No, but then I would have, the option. In this case, I wouldn't have the option. You would just force me to. You would be having the debate, not me, because my will would not. I would have no free will in that regard.
I mean, I haven't watched the episode, so I don't know whether the kid had free will or sentience, or definitely not putting going judge of any serious. Yeah, you know what, Dessel? Good point. But
yeah, we need to elect the designated dude in charge of serious moral issues. That needs to be a new post.
I nominate myself.
Yeah. Okay. No, we just established. No,
nomination denied.
Yeah. So let's see.
Sounds like Gur would hook the kid up to the machine himself, man.
Exactly. No. You want to know the fucked up part? Fuck the fucked up part. He definitely hooked me up if I was the kid. Be like, it would be my pleasure to hook Midnight up to this machine so I can benefit from his misery. Right, Gur?
Yes, and the only benefit would be to my benefit, not even society as a whole.
So like Gur, if Gur had been there when it happened, you know, like supposedly the the technology had been invented, like millennia or centuries before. And if Gur had been there, whoever created it'd be like, okay, so we found a completely synthetic way to run the system.
Nope.
And Gur would be like, well, look, can't we make it so that it like has to be hooked up to some kid's brain and he has to be sacrificed?
You know what would make this perfect? A kid's brain.
You know what?
Yeah, exactly.
As if a kid suffers. Otherwise, no go. I'm joking. But yeah, there's been a few movies that I've seen that will propose similar moral questions. And to be honest with you, I kind of felt that way with this one series, which was a stupid franchise called, what's it called? It's the one where murder is legalized for 12 hours. The Purge. When the trailer to the first Purge came out, I thought this raises a moral question for me, which is if we could legalize murder for the sake of argument, obviously this is not founded on anything, but in the movie, death rate, suicide, crime, all of it was like way down, like 90% or something, if I remember right. And I thought, in this world, would it be okay to allow that evil and that anarchy and chaos to take place for 12 hours if it meant the greater good would be the rest of the year everything is mostly fine? But then they took that concept and they butchered it.
Okay, but wait a minute. But how do you say that that's for the greater good though? Basically, all you're doing is you're taking all the murder and rape and really bad shit and saying we're gonna get it done on this one night.
Well, that could be the case. That could be the case.
Big to-do list.
But just when I first saw the trailer, again, this is a stupid movie. All the movies are terrible. I hate all of the movies. But I just thought that would be an interesting scenario to go through. If you legalize crime, but for 12 hours, but then crime was down the rest of the year. But like you said, John, you could say, well, it would all be the same if you looked at the crime of that night and you averaged it out throughout the year. It may be the same.
Hey, maybe worse. That. Well, wait a minute. Maybe that methodology is the solution to the Catholic priest scandal.
Oh, like talking about. Wait.
Yeah, they get one. They get one night. One night a year. They can go after as many.
No, John. No.
Altar boys as they want.
No. Jesus Christ. Well, okay. If they could do that, people can kill them. You know what I mean? If they could do that, yeah, because it's
well,
the
ladies
Purge.
and gentlemen, I think we need to shoot it in the head.
No.
Why?
Oh, I just shot it in the head, folks.
He just shot it. You just imploded the stream here. It was going to be a short one anyway.
So was that Speed? Was that Speed you were talking to on the phone?
Yeah, he was letting me know the situation. But we were just this was kind of the replacement for our Thursday morning. He's been calling it Bibles and Embryos, where I bring up certain little facts about the biblical history, historical Jesus studies, and stuff like that. And he talks about what he's learning about embryology. And so this was just kind of a expanded discussion on that, because basically we were both too lazy to do it this morning. So, right. And plus we found the Kenny conversation to be very interesting, if not infuriating.
Infuriating. Yeah, I was just going to say.
So there's not going to be any special exit music. Hello, Randolph.
Well,
but
now we have to keep going, Scott. Randolph,
I would like to see if Gur would like to do the outro music for us, and then we can hit in broadcast.
What outro? I don't have any outro music.
Our outro music.
I don't have y'all's outro music.
Oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
Well, I just want to say goodbye to our side chat. Y'all were very spirited, and
do not kill kids for the greater good.
Yes, we do not advocate here killing kids for the greater good, or letting priests loose on altar boys one night a year. That is not something that we came up with
And in the fucking train track fucking thought experiment, always kill the fat guy.
Okay, all right. So that's real
Or the
motivation
trolley
to lose weight right there. So anyway, everybody be healthy, be wealthy, be wise, go to bed and get some sleep.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you. Yes.
Subscribe to my channel.
Subscribe to mine as
Send us
well.